Hey guys, wanted to bring you an updated thoughts video here for the beta branch. So it's been going for a little while now. There's been quite a few changes along the way. Overall, I think there's much more build variety happening here at the moment. Now, there are some builds that still feel pretty strong and some builds that still feel like they're lagging a little bit behind. So we'll get into that. I think overall, though, the game is starting to feel like it's in a much better place here in this beta branch, which is positive, obviously. That's awesome. Now, let's just first talk about a few of the builds. I think something like Attack Meris is still a little... It could use a boost. So Attack Meris is this branch down here. Now, the reason I say this is we tried a few runs and we did one run where we took Crom and Summer together and Fury plus Fatality and God of War. We were able to do it at Darkness 100 and it felt pretty good. But we also did a few Attack Meris runs without taking God of War and Crom and all that. And man, the damage output just doesn't keep up if you aren't taking it. It still, to me, feels like you really need a big attack speed and a damage boost, which some of the other builds don't really specifically require God of War anymore, which is nice. This one, to me, still feels like it's lagging behind. I even took Mort with Mayhem and all that stuff, and man, it's still feeling a little like it's lagging behind here. One of the other ones that to me feels like it was lagging behind, at least as of a day and a half ago, maybe it's been updated again, but Winter's Dash Dive. Man, it's just not doing enough damage. It just can't keep up with some of these other dashes. Some of the other dashes feel really good now. Like Ball Lightning feels really, really strong. I tried Lifelink too with Nixie with the +8 projectiles. That feels really good. Some of the other ones too, like Vortex Dash to me has always felt pretty good. I think it's always been one of the stronger ones. And, Trail of Fire already did some pretty high base damage. But Winter's Dive, to me, feels like it's not quite keeping a pace with some of the others, even with the +8 projectiles. Now, and if you want to use it on a different character, a dash build on a different character, man, good luck, right? Because it's just not doing enough, in my experience here anyway. Now, we did try some builds on Scardy here today. Scardius feeling much better. Now, one thing I do want to talk about, though, is a lot of the builds will feel like they're doing pretty good, and then the Jin is just like, nope, and deletes them out of existence. So, Darkness 100, it's not a free pass. Even though there's more builds, you still have to build correctly to be able to beat him. You still need some kind of defensive stuff going on there for most of the builds. Now, there are still a few pretty strong ones. I still think Cast Spam Meris and Strike Spam Lorien are pretty strong. And Kront Boy with all his defense in his skill tree, and his Stomp and Devastate and all this stuff is still pretty good. Scardy here, I think, is starting to feel better. The Wanderer feels pretty good overall. But look, we had a few runs where we actually got up to the Jin and he just stomped on us and deleted us. So we need to build a little bit more defensively. Not overall, but I think having either a revive or more life total. But we didn't take Justice on those particular runs. So we could have taken Justice and gone for Protection and all that stuff as well. Reprisal too. Reprisal is pretty nice at Darkness 100 here. I think Nixie is feeling pretty good overall. Her Poison and Poison Darts are really, really strong. We did a build where with the Poison setup. We'll see if I can pull it up right here. But yeah, no, man, the Poison Darts are feeling really nice. This setup here is what I used. So in Venom, all this stuff with Mind Reaper plus the Poison Darts, and oh boy, it's pretty strong. I think it's probably one of the stronger builds that I've tried in this beta branch. I don't know if it's the strongest because Telekinesis Meris is still pretty strong. Nixie, I haven't tried the critical, the Vendetta specifically, but I've seen some other videos out there where it's pretty strong. I have not tried Dance of Shadows, but again, I've seen some other videos. I think Jeff did one on Dance of Shadows recently, which was pretty cracked. So, that's relatively strong depending on how you build it up. Now, I personally really like Finesse. I like going in with the extra dash charge on Nixie, so I think it's an interesting one here. Um, I don't know. It doesn't really add crazy amounts of power by itself. An extra dash charge is obviously nice, but you can just put a dash charge on your boots too if you really want. Or you could stack them together and have 4, and that it's starting to feel pretty good at that point. So I think Nixie overall is pretty good. Maris, I think Summoning Maris, Surge Maris, and Telekinesis Maris, all really strong. Hydra, it is strong, but boy oh boy, the minus 200 damage is... It's kind of hilarious because you have so many casts going off, but they just tickle. It's kind of fun. We could still get a win at Darkness 100 with that, so it's not terrible. The one that she's struggling with a little bit, I think personally, is Blaze. Now Averron, we tried the infinite smiting Averron with Champion and Edge of Divinity. That's a really strong build. That's really fun to use. Infinite Smiting is really cool. And it synergizes so well with Justice, and she offers more defensive stuff, so it's pretty good. Now, I think this one down here, Aegis, it is really good. But the problem with defensive Averron, if you spec all out in defense, there's just no boss damage. Like, where's it coming from? You know what I mean? You know, you can put Retribution and stuff on, but you're going to have to tank a lot of damage and deal a lot of damage back, you know. And Nixie, we talked about. Kront, I think Kront is feeling pretty good overall. The ones I've tried, I haven't actually done much testing with Devastate, but 100% chance to stun is really nice. And Rampage has always been strong. War Chief has always been strong. Ancestral Knowledge is pretty strong still. Skadi. The one that Skadi still struggles a little bit with is the status effects. Some of the status effects just don't do that much damage on Skadi. Like, even with the sword that gives her plus 100% burn damage, it feels pretty weak still, in my opinion. And you really have to go for a very specific kind of build to really make it kind of work. You really need, like, Winter and Morton Summer together is like a pretty good combo, but then you're lacking defense from Justice and, you know, all that sort of stuff. I think Guardi's summoning build is pretty crazy. Heroic training has been buffed. It does feel kind of interesting now. Well, I haven't really tested it a whole lot yet, though, so we'll get back to that one. Now, Lorien boy here. Basking Greatness is still very strong. Rain of Arrows, plus 60% attack speed now is pretty cracked. You can go with some Flash of Inspiration Rain of Arrows combo, which is pretty nice. Whistling Arrow. Now, this thing unfortunately just doesn't do boss damage, which makes it a kind of a bit of a struggle against the Jhin. The rest of the run, you can kind of manage it, but man, against the Jhin, yeah, Whistling Arrows, I don't know, it's not quite... I don't know, I think they need to change it, that if there's only you and a boss, it just bounces between the two of you. Otherwise, it's like, it's just not doing enough against bosses. Lorien is really strong, though. Basking Greatness is still pretty cracked, especially with all the crit chance and stuff. Bouncing Arrows is really nice. I think overall, the game is feeling much closer to where it needs to in terms of build variety, which is one of the major things that the developers has talked about. They want more build variety, and I think we're getting much closer to better build variety. There are still some builds a little higher than others. So some of the ones I mentioned, like the cast spam and strike spam, Poison Darts Nixie was really strong. I did a couple of, like a Ball Lightning Maris was pretty crazy. And some of the attacking ones still feel like they're a little bit lower. I still feel like you need Curse of Weakness plus maybe even a revive on some of them to really take on the Jhin, where some of the other ones we still kind of got through the Jhin without needing a revive. Some of them we even did without Curse of Weakness, which proves just how kind of strong they are. So I still think there are some that are kind of higher than others, but overall we're in a much better place. And I think overall the difficulty level, I think it is interesting because if you don't build correctly for some of these builds, you can still get stomped. The ants can still be pretty bad on some builds, but it really is the last 3 or so waves. So the ants going into the bombers, into the Jin, can be really pretty tricky on some of the builds still. So I do think there is some challenge left in Darkness 100. It's not like it's just been gutted completely in terms of difficulty. I do think the first half of the run is pretty easy on most of the builds, though. Like, most of the builds will stomp through at least the first 7 minutes up to the first boss, and as long as he doesn't damage check you, all the way up until the 10-minute mark is relatively easy. But then the last kind of part of the build really kind of spikes in difficulty, which I think Darkness 100 still needs to be challenging. So I think it's okay for there to be a ramp up there. You have to build to be able to beat the Jin. You can't just build to beat all the skeletons and the ants and stuff. You have to build to be able to beat the Jin as well, which it's Darkness 100. I think that it probably should be like that. So I think that's a good thing overall. I would like to see a few of the attack ones brought back up a little more, especially Attack Maris. Attack Averron felt pretty good. Attack Lorien has always felt pretty good. He's pretty strong as it is, especially with the strikes and the cast spam. He's got both cast and strike spam, so you know. And I think Crompboy, some of his feel pretty strong. Nixie and Scardy are starting to feel a little bit better. Maybe Scardy's attack stuff could maybe get boosted, or even her strike stuff could maybe get boosted a little bit. And I think Winter's Dive is one that, for me, it feels like it's really lagging behind the other dashes. So that's sort of where we're at. I think we're in a much more positive place in terms of getting closer to sort of build variety, where I think that's what the game needed more than to be ball-crushingly difficult or whatever. So that's where we're at, guys. I think we're in a much healthier and positive place. It's not perfect. There are still, as I said, some that are higher than others. But I think we're getting much closer to actually having some kind of balance that feels pretty good overall in terms of, you know, Darkness 100 and the build variety and all that stuff. So, all right, thanks for tuning into this one. I don't have a build for tonight, as I had a big power outage here this morning and it kind of stuffed things up. So, you know, it happens sometimes. So thanks for tuning into this one. Smash like and subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day. Thank you very much, and I'll catch you in the next one.